Good morning, this is Penny Ferguson, a living leader. Wednesday seems to come around so quickly, so it's absolutely crazy. Um, okay, what I would like to share with you today is something based on something that was really tough for me this week. And so I just want to talk about how sometimes as a leader, we have to make some really tough decisions, and they're not easy, and they're not always easy to hold on to. So for example, I can give you some real life examples of when I was bringing up my children, there were sometimes some tough decisions I needed to make. I can only give you an example. Um, let's supposing that one of my children said, Mum, I've got an opportunity to go on this skiing holiday with the school, and it's going away for a week in the winter holidays, and I'd love to be able to do it, but it's going to cost quite a lot of money. So I might say to them, okay, so maybe we can do that. However, you need to help, you need to contribute, and it's really important that you do contribute. So perhaps you'd like to maybe do things to help me at home, and I'm happy to pay you extra money to do it. So could you wash my car for me every week? You know, you've got plenty of time. We're a long way away, about 2 to 3 months ahead. And I might give them a few other tasks and say, I'll give you extra pocket money. And so it would come closer to the time, and I would be aware that yes, they'd done some of the car cleaning, but there were some weeks, something else where they were meant to be going out with their friends and it hadn't happened. And so they hadn't got really the money that they said they'd have. And of course, then I should say, well, I'm sorry, darling, you can't go on that trip because this was your part of the deal. And my decision would really be, if I'm going to send the right message, no, sorry, that isn't going to happen. But needless to say, that didn't happen. I'd invariably said, okay, well, on this occasion. But of course, it was always on this occasion. But I can also give you an example in the workplace, and I can compare two very different CEOs. Both were amazing leaders. And one of them, when he was taking on a new job, he knew very well, because he'd experienced of this division in a company before. It was a huge division, about 16,000 people. And he knew that he was taking on the top team, but one of the people in it was getting results, no question, but not in the style that was important to him. What I would call very much a fairly autocratic management style, probably even towards dictatorial, getting the results, but not the style of leadership. And so this CEO, when he was coming in within a week, had the discussion with him and said, this is the way it's going to be. I think it's best that you move on. And he did it in the most supportive way possible. But he said, this isn't going to be right for you and it isn't going to be right for me or the company. That was a tough decision because he was getting the results that were required, but not in the style that was very important to this CEO who's passionate about leadership. Another CEO, he was taking over a role and asked me to go and deliver our leadership program to the top team. And it was pretty clear that there was one of the guys who got all the words but wasn't actually really going along with it. He was, I absolutely agree with this, but his style was very, very different, which meant that because he had such an autocratic style, he was actually holding back the potential of people underneath. He was encouraging them not to think for themselves, and it just wasn't wise. So he did everything he could to endeavour to bring this individual along with him in every way possible. He even asked us to put a coach to work with him for 3 months. And even though he really knew deep down it wasn't going to work, he didn't want to make that tough decision to say, I'm sorry, you may be getting the results, but you need to move on. Now, he did make the decision, but this is only my personal opinion. It took too long. And that meant that it didn't help the company, it didn't help the stress of that top team who could see what was happening, and it didn't help the individual. So there are times where we have to make really tough decisions, and they're not comfortable. So why did I want to talk about decisions this week? I'm going to be winding this up, I'm afraid, a little bit quickly, because I had to make a tough decision on Sunday. One of my dogs became very ill. I knew she'd got a terminal condition, but I thought I'd have her for a lot more months, as did the vet, but it suddenly escalated very badly. Consequently, I had to make the decision on Sunday to have her put to sleep. not what I wanted, and they gave me an option that I could prolong it. I could put her on higher painkillers. They could do more blood tests. They could find out more what was going on. But it wasn't the right decision for her. May have been great for me to have had a bit longer, but it wasn't the right decision for her. So I made the decision, and little Molly moved on to her next life. So that's why I wanted to talk about tough decisions this week. There are times we have to make them. And it's not easy, and it's not easy to hold on to them. So when you listen to this, just ask yourself, are there any tough decisions that I know at some level I need to be making, and actually I keep walking away from them and putting it off? Because it's not always the best thing to do. It often isn't. I can give another example. I sometimes see people who stay in relationships and they come up with all sorts of rationalizing as to why it's the right thing to do. And the reality is it probably isn't the right thing for either person. And so just ask yourself, are there decisions that I could make that could make life better for everybody? And if it's a company decision, and my organization. So that's enough about decision making today. And before I move on, let me just say that there is one thing that I'll ask if any of you might be interested in. We have a wonderful trainer who's going to be qualifying very soon. She lives in New Zealand, and she's very keen to take our program out to New Zealand. At the moment we're in New Zealand, but only virtually. She wants to take the live program out to New Zealand. And she's coming back to do week 2 of her certified training program. And she is going to be running her pilot, which will be at the end of November, with day 3 in December. And we're offering it at a really silly price, £750. Do you have any, maybe people who are sometimes forgotten, like PAs, who are amazing people? Do you have any people that you think I'd really like to give them the opportunity to do this program at a crazy price? And obviously it includes the 3 days, it includes the accommodation on night 1, it includes all workshop materials, and normally this program is over £2,000. So I hope that you have some people, or think of some people, or even a partner you think, oh, I've always wanted them to do it. So if there's anybody, please can you email emma@thelivingleader.com. Let me repeat that, emma@thelivingleader.com. So if you think of somebody who'd really get benefit from this, or you'd like to give it them as a gift, as a present, for you CEOs or you senior people, you think this would be a lovely gift to give my PA, please contact Emma. And let me just leave you with the thought, decision making and making tough decisions isn't always easy, but sometimes it's the best and kindest thing to do. So have a wonderful week. This is Penny Ferguson.